I'd like to welcome our guest. Hi, Amber.
Hi everyone. Hello Nalanie. Thank you
Namaste, namaste, namaste.
namaste, and thank you and your team so much for inviting me to participate this evening.
Oh, Amber, I have known you for so many years, and that's the reason why I've invited you tonight. I've known you since you were a young girl and danced in my dance group. Always so full of life, always so enthusiastic. I always thought you would end up as a performer, but instead you became a lawyer. So, would you introduce yourself and tell us what made you go into this profession?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think lawyers are in a way performers, especially barristers. And I remember being invited once to an interview for a job in Bristol, where they asked me. They said, what made you want to become a lawyer? And I said, I think I'm a frustrated actress, actually. But the reason why I decided to pursue a career in law is because when I was age 5, my parents separated, and the separation wasn't an easy one. Of course, at the time, I was very young and I wasn't totally aware of what was going on, but it was quite traumatic to the extent that we had to relocate, move back from England to Gibraltar. I had to change schools, I had to make new friends, learn the Spanish language as well as the English language, which I was already familiar with, but in Gibraltar, as we know, there's a lot of switching. So anyway, there were many, many changes, and but it was when I was age 12, whilst my mum was out at work and I had just come back from school, that I was looking for something, and I accidentally, or not, as fate would have it, came across my parents' divorce file. By the age of 12, obviously, I was able to read through the file and appreciate what exactly my mother had gone through at that time. And again, it was the basis of the lies that I could read through the correspondence between the lawyers, and the untruths, the harm that was caused, to my mom, who was quite young at the time, and of course to us. And I think that at age 12, I was already mature enough to appreciate how this had had such a strong and quite a negative impact, quite a harmful impact on my family. At the age of 12, of course, and younger, I felt that I had no power to have to right the wrongs, if you like, or to somehow change what had happened. But what I was then determined to do was, moving forward into the future, was to get myself into a position where I could influence what happened in these kind of situations of separation and divorce. So as a lawyer, you gain that position of influence, and through the court system, and now outside the court system, through mediation, and through what I've developed as what I call a holistic law model.
Yeah. Amber, tell me something about this holistic module, and tell me as well, being a woman in a very male-orientated profession, how was it for you? How could you keep your values of truth and justice? Not only that, we are told, right, that nowadays, and many people here would agree with me, when you go to a lawyer, it's all about money. Where's the justice? I know I put 3 questions in one, but I think you can answer them all together. Where is the justice? And do you really value this law? How do you do it?
Right. So I started Amber Law in 2013. By then, I'd been practicing law for about 14 years. And yes, I had been working in other law firms where still, at least locally, it's very much a patriarchal system. There's, the women are outnumbered by the men in positions of what I would say influence and power within those structures. It's changing, which is the good news. And I think it's changed a lot since I graduated in 1999. But still, at the time that I was going through, if you like, the first few years of my career, I found it very hard. I found it very, very challenging. Why? Because, for instance, I'll just tell you a short story of what happened on my very, very first day of work as a barrister. And as you can imagine, after so many years of study and exams and, and passion, for what I thought was going to be a career in service to others, I arrived at the law firm to be given the introductory talk. So I was just sat there with my new suit on and feeling really, really inspired and excited. And the talk was about money. It really was. That was it. The focus was on, you're here to build, you need to collect so much money every month. These are the budgets, this is the target, this is what you need to bring in. And it went further, actually. They also brought in competition with other peers. So every month they would put up, visible to all, obviously, a ledger which showed how much money people were, each lawyer was collecting for that month. Now, obviously, businesses need to make money, absolutely. And of course, we have to be paid value for the service we're providing. But what I found very difficult to deal with was the fact that I was thinking, well, where's the inspirational talk about selfless service to others, doing justice in the world, making our community a safer place, elevating social justice? What about all of that? Because to be honest, I think that I'm not alone in saying that there's many lawyers and law students who are out there who decide to follow a career in law because they really want to make a difference. So I found that hard.
Let me just interrupt you there. That is absolutely true. In my life, I've counseled 3 lawyers who've studied hard to be lawyers, but in the end, actually went into the law firm and realized it's the last thing they wanted to do because it was all about money. So this is absolutely a fact. So please carry on. Yeah.
There's actually, I'm glad you've said that, because in the UK, at least, the Law Society have statistics now on how many lawyers are suffering from depression, how many are suffering from other symptoms of stress, like sleeplessness, palpitations, stress, anxiety, depression, and even suicide. And so the suicide rates among lawyers in the UK is about 3 times higher than the national average.
Wow.
So that speaks volumes. And one thing I want to talk about today and share with you about truthfulness is something that you've mentioned before in your introductory talk, which is about, for me, truthfulness is about working in alignment with who we are as human beings, in alignment with our purpose, in alignment with our mission in this world. And so when you're moving away from that truth, what you're doing is, I think, causing yourself harm. And whether we're conscious of it or not, and a lot of people are at different stages of awareness and awakening in this process. But if you're not aware and you're not awake, of course, you might not know where to go to get those tools. I was so blessed and so lucky to have you in my life from a very young age. That I came to the centers, pretty much after that you founded it in Gibraltar over 25 years ago. I was really lucky. I had you, I had your guidance, I had your support, your direction. I had the teachings of Patanjali through the Raj Yoga course, through Swami Satchidananda's translation. And you gave us tools. You gave us tools which I have used in my practice as a holistic lawyer. And when I called Amber Law, it was for 2 reasons. First of all, because Amber is my name, but also because Amber is a healing stone. And to me, lawyers are here on this earth to assist clients to resolve the conflict they're in, resolve the disputes they're in, to get through that legal process, but in a way that will lead them to a place of peace of mind, harmony, and well-being. And in order to do that, what I've done, in effect, is use the same tools that I used to help myself through the process as a guide for my clients to do the exact same thing. So not just the Raj Yoga teachings, but for example, mantras, repetition of positive affirmations. I used breathing techniques every time before I was about to go to court. And this is not, I'm not even joking. It's like, let's breathe. I don't know what people were thinking in the toilet cubicle next to me. Sounding of me heavy breathing. But, and the Hatha yoga classes helped tremendously. And whilst, of course, I have slipped back from practice. What's very important to remain grounded in truth, to remain grounded in again, truthfulness and honesty and integrity, in all these other values which are connected to truthfulness, and so on, you need to keep to the practice. And of course, but I have slipped back. There have been many times when I have got busy, forgotten the practice, suffered the consequences, and then said, right, time to go back to see Nalanie and back to my class and back to the practice. So with holistic law, what I've done is to say, just to give you practical examples,
Mm-hmm.
in the context of law firms which advocate fee earning as the top priority over and above every other value, what can happen is, I'm not saying this happens all the time, but what may happen, the danger is that when there's a chance to settle a case early, rather than go for the early settlement, rather than be sensible, fair, reasonable, and so on, lawyers might think, no, I need to take this case all the way through to litigation, all the way through the courts. This needs to take at least another 6 months so that I can earn the fees that I need to earn to look good in this firm, to become eventually a partner in this firm, to to progress in my career. And so what I have done is practice the opposite in the sense that I've turned it around and I've said, of course I have to earn a fee, but I am not going to live a life or work from a place of fear. And I think that in any profession, in any place of work that you're operating in, you will come in every day and work, as in think, speak, and act, from either a place of love or a place of fear. If you're in love, you're not in lack, you're in abundance. And if you're in abundance, you're also in the faith that whatever you do, and if you're truthful, if you stick to that integrity, that the good you do will stay with you. It's when you're in fear that you come into this lack mentality, that then you think, no, I can't possibly settle this case early, or I need to sell this person something they don't actually need, or I'm going to say that this car requires, it's 4 tires changing rather than just the oil change, and so on and so forth, because this can be translated to any service industry. This example, you then know that, if you go from lack, it's just basically about fear and greed. But we know that all of that leads to us feeling stressed and anxious and out of sync with whom we really are.
Oh, and I can really vouch for that. The amount of clients you sent me, and you tell them, please try and, get along amicably, do this divorce quickly. So I know, I can vouch for you, Amber. You really have done the best for your clients. And, sometimes one of your clients as a couple came to me, and as you said, so many, and one of the lawyers was advocating that they ask for more money and more money, and the other lawyer, which was you, was saying, why do you want to do this to your partner? Why do you want to do this to each other? You loved each other once upon a time. Can't you do this amicably? And when I pointed this out to both of them, and I said, which route do you want to take? War or peace? And I remember they chose peace, and they went back to you, and the case was handled very beautifully. And it's so good for the children, isn't it?
Absolutely. And
so good for the children. And I was really impressed that as a lawyer, you did that. You weren't thinking dollars and bucks. You were thinking for them. What was best for them? What was best for the family? What was best for humanity? You were thinking about their children. I so respect that. I so respect that.
Thank you, Nalanie. And no man is an island, as they say. Every person who's going through a dispute or a conflict, be it at home or at the workplace, is going to suffer, obviously, feelings, as we were saying before, of anxiety or stress or depression and so on. Everybody who's connected to that individual, children, a spouse, a partner, colleagues at work, employers, will also be affected in what I call the ripple effect. Because we don't live in islands. We're not even living, even in lockdown, we're not living in islands. We're still connected. So it's so important to me that we go to the truth of matters and that people are fair. When I, in terms of being truthful with clients, if a client has come to me and said, this is what I want you to do on my behalf. And once I've investigated the facts of the case, or I've seen some evidence, I've thought, no, actually, this is not fair. This is not reasonable. You're in pain. You're lashing out. You want to punish. So what lawyers need to also be aware of, and other people in the workplace, again, as I say, these examples can be transferred to other workplaces, is never to allow yourself to be used as a vehicle to cause pain to others. And that is why keeping to your truth, whatever, in a sense, I was going to say whatever the cost, that's a difficult one. Because sometimes we find ourselves in situations where maybe we cause more harm than good. But it's certainly in the cases that I've been dealing with, going to the truth of matters, trying to support clients through the holistic network, such as yourself and other therapists.
What other therapies do you, advise them to go to? I'd be very interested to hear that.
Yes, what we do. So the way I work is, whilst we're working through the legal problem, the dispute, the mediation, and so on, what I will do is I will get my holistic network engaged. So the idea is that whilst we're working on the legal problem or the dispute and so on, and through that process, the person my client, and even sometimes the family, as I say, or colleagues or friends, close friends, will also be engaged in receiving the support and guidance they need emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I say this because it's important to make the distinction between what the lawyer does and obviously what the professionals do as well. Right. Although I'm a lawyer who practices in a holistic way, which means that I see my client as a whole, I understand that people sometimes come into disputes because they have personal challenges that come from childhood usually, or later on in life. So if the person comes to me with, I'll give you an example, I'll tell you a little story. So I had this couple who came to see me, and they wanted to get divorced, and they were in their 60s, 70s. I was going to say older, but
thank you, Amber. I am older though, and I'm proud of it. I'm 67 this year.
They weren't in their 20s or 30s, so we're talking about they were grandparents by then, and I found it very surprising. And the other thing, I suppose, is when you work in truth, as you say, your intuition does become sharpened. So my intuition was telling me, like, this couple, no, I can't possibly divorce them. There's something I don't know. I need to know more. There's something I'm not being told. So I started asking questions. And it transpired that the lady's mother was suffering from cancer. And she was obviously relying on her daughter, the client who'd come in, to help her through that terminal cancer, which obviously, as you can imagine, was a very traumatic event for this lady. Then when I spoke to the husband, it transpired that he was going through a situation of workplace bullying. So once you home into what's actually going on with each individual through the client conference, I found out that the truth was actually not that they didn't love each other, not that there was a problem with their marriage. What there was external factors impacting on each one of them in such a way that they could no longer cope and they could no longer support each other. So the holistic network, what I do then is that I pick up a phone and I call the Cancer Relief Center, for instance, and I'd say, can we arrange respite so that my client has some time out, because this lady was not having any time off whatsoever. And then on the legal side of it, rather than draft divorce documents, I ended up defending this gentleman with his workplace bullying situation. Because ultimately, so again, it's funny, isn't it? Because if I had been money-minded as a top priority without, and again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't earn money for the services we give, but what I'm saying is what we can't do is be blinded and just forget about the truth and move forward just to get a quick dollar. What we need to do is go straight to the truth and see what is the truth of this. There have been times, as you've said, Nalanie, when as you know, I've sent clients to you and I've never seen them again, and I'm so happy they never did, because it means they worked on their marriage, or they worked on whatever issues were going on, and they solved them and they found that place of peace and healing. Now, if they come back, but in this situation, rather than have one kind of a case, I ended up with another. But it was great because, you see, we nipped the problem in the bud. We got straight to the root cause, the underlying issue of what was impacting on each one of them, and therefore the marriage. So that's just one example of how holistic law or the holistic approach works. It's looking not just at the problem that you're being brought, if not I've just taken a deposit, sat down and drafted their divorce documents, but going that step further, which isn't really that far either. It's a step or two further to investigate the truth behind what is actually going on.
And you know, Amber, isn't it amazing what Sri Patanjali says? By one firmly established in truth, actions and their results become subservient. You are proof of that. You have followed the truth rather than the greed. All right? So obvious by everything you've said. As a result, you have your own law firm. Isn't that incredible? Self-made woman. I just love it. Not only that, if I may say, the way you've looked after your mother, you've brought her home, you've cared for her, you do everything for her. And not only that, you've got your own home. So tell us something about it. You see, it does work. This magic of truth does work.
It does. Abundance comes. Abundance does come. I think that, as I was saying before, there are other values linked to truth. You can't just say truth in isolation, because for that truth, there has to be fearlessness. There has to be courage to speak out when you have to speak out, and stand up when you have to stand up, and be counted. And I love. Sorry, I'm just going to read this before we run out of time, because
we have time.
Divine Grace.
Oh, thank you.
Chapter 38, which is about truthfulness. And you say the following, you say, our time is limited. We must be true to ourselves, or we will live our lives as robots. And then you also say that when we live in truth, we are free. And wherever there is untruth, there will be pain. So again, it's the opposite, isn't it? It's like if you lie, if there is an untruth, there is pain. So why do people lie? And again, in the workplace, I've done a lot of work in recent years with workplace bullying cases. And I think that unfortunately what we've come to now is a time in our lives when a lot of people are very focused on image. They're focused on image, they're focused on labels, they're focused on titles, on money, on promotions, and so on. Again, abundance is not wrong. Living a life of luxury is not wrong. It's wonderful. And how many wonderful things can we do with all that money and that energy, and helping others and serving others, including ourselves. But again, we need to be aware that we're not selling ourselves. We're not selling our truth. We're not selling our souls as an exchange for that. And I also believe in the law of karma, and what goes around comes around. So, all the religions mention the law of karma. Even Albert Einstein said, to a reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I see this. I've seen this in my practice, and I've seen it in my personal life. But, Sutra 36 also reads that with establishment and honesty, the state of fearlessness comes. And therefore, you do not need to be afraid of anybody, and you can live a free life, which is what you've said in your Divine Grace book. And how else would we want to live other than in that state of peace of mind and freedom?
Yes. How else would you want to live? And this is why it was so wonderful to have you here today to show people who are in professions, because I keep getting asked, oh, Nalanie, well and good for you. You can do it, but you can't really do it in a job or in a workplace or in a profession. And I said, yes, you can. My father did it, and I know people who do it. And you are one in this generation that is doing it, and you're the proof of it. And that makes me feel, wow, that's why you're our first guest on this show, because on this show, I call it, we talk about acting, right? Easter promise. Isn't life a show? It's just a show. And I love that you play your part so beautifully. And, it's such an example. You're such an example to other people, other women, other men out there, that there's no need to hurt people. There's no need to lie. Yes, challenges will come. We'll be pushed to the very brink of our sanity sometimes. just to stick to the truth. And sometimes you wonder why, because you're put down so much, as you have experienced during your profession,
I
but you
have.
haven't touched yet because you have been pushed to your limit, where if you were untruthful, you'd probably have grown much quicker. But you stuck to your guns, you stuck to your truth. And you know, hearing you is so inspiring because it does work. And that's what you were saying. And what I love is what you are about to do next, even more fully in your practice. I believe you are about to write a book. I also believe that you are going to take this work to the world at large and promote this kind of thinking with lawyers. Tell us something about this.
Yes, well, first of all, just to answer your question, and also I suppose I need to say that it hasn't been easy. You're absolutely right. Along the way, I have been put down. I've been put down by senior lawyers in rooms of junior lawyers and ridiculed in front of everyone. I've been told I'm too altruistic. I've been told by judges I'm too emotional. I've been told, that, I don't take this profession seriously. I think it's some sort of a charity. I mean, it's not easy, and it's not easy when you're younger. As you grow older, I think you grow a little bit more wise or experienced or mature, maybe. When you're younger and more impressionable, especially when you look up to people in the profession who then speak to you this way, it can be quite a blow. And a lot of women drop out of the profession. A lot of men do as well, but a lot of women do drop out of law, especially those who've trained as barristers. And I certainly know in Gibraltar of quite a few who have.
So do I, yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. So again, it's not like overnight I opened my law firm and everything's amazing. There was a journey. It took a lot of knocks to myself. It was a bit of a roller coaster ride, and trying to bring myself up again and say, no, I know that the way I want to practice in truthfulness is the right way to do it. And what will happen is, as you said, like in the story of the boy who cried wolf, if you behave that way, you lose your credibility. And credibility and respect and reputation is not something that you can buy. It's not for sale. You have to earn it. So what happened then, just moving on to your last question, I thought I was pretty much alone in my way of thinking about practicing law in this holistic way. And it was only a few years ago that I came across a book by J. Kim Wright. She's an American lawyer and author. She's been published by the American Bar Association. She's got 2 books out now. And her book is basically about lawyers as peacemakers and practicing holistic problem-solving law. So you can imagine I was so overwhelmed when that book landed on my lap, because suddenly it opened a number of doors, a world, not a number of doors. It opened a world to me of lawyers who practice heart-centered law, who people such as David Wexler, who founded Therapeutic Jurisprudence, who I've since met, Stu Webb, who founded Collaborative Family Law, who I've also connected with. I'm now a member of the Project for Integrating Spirituality, Law and Politics, PISLAP, and a member of the International Society for Therapeutic Jurisprudence. And I also came across online magazines such as The Conscious Lawyer, and met really amazing educators who, such as Dr. Emma Jones, Dr. Anna Kowalik. They're both senior law lecturers at university, who've got their books out now about emotions in the law school and about problem-solving courts. So I also met Dr. Hugh Ang, who's also a law lecturer, who's interested in looking at mental health and law students, and Dr. Amal Adal and Brad Roth. Brad Roth actually teaches mediation with meditation in New York. So it's of course with the advent of, originally I used to go to bookstores in London and say, can you please, do a search of any book about holistic law or healing law, and they'd look at me like I'd just taken some funny medication. But it wasn't until I came across Kim's book, and I have so much that I owe to her, because this world, as I say, has now opened up. And I think, again, rereading Sutra 36 today before we came on, it also says that things come to you automatically without you having to seek them out. And in my final story, when I read her book, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not crazy. You know, there are so many lawyers out there, and they've been doing this since the 1980s. I was thinking, gosh, I'm not a visionary. I'm actually behind the times. in the USA, at least, they were far ahead. But what I wanted to meet this lady, Kim Wright, and she's obviously American. So I was thinking, gosh, I'm gonna have to go to America and find her. Then I found out that she actually travels all the time. So she doesn't actually stay in one place for very long. Then in 2019, I was invited by Dr. Jones and Dr. Cowlick to attend the Open University in Milton Keynes, because it was going to be the very first meeting for the UK chapter on therapeutic jurisprudence. Can you imagine? So this movement started in the mid-1980s, and it was only in 2019 that these two ladies have pioneered, putting together the chapter for the United Kingdom. So I attended that event. I met a lady there who said to me, oh my goodness, you're one of us, which I completely understood. I was like, yes, here I've tried, yes, I'm certainly one of you guys. And she said, I need to introduce you to my mentor. And I said, who is your mentor? And she said, J. Kim Wright. So I was looking for the hidden camera at that point, thinking, this is crazy. I'm in England. Like, this is random. What are the chances? And she said, will you be in London next week? I said, well, I wasn't going to be, but obviously now I am going to be. And I spent 2 days with Kim. So it really has been quite an amazing journey. It has not been easy. It's been very rough. But I certainly can say that when you stick the course and you stick to your truth and you stick to the truth, and you work in alignment with your soul purpose, and you have faith that you are guided and directed and protected, it is so true that things come to you. And all these opportunities, I have to say, are opening doors to me being able to learn more and offer more for my clients. And so, so I'm building my new website, very excited about that. And writing the first book, which will be sharing the holistic law module that I've come up with, that I've created for lawyers and for the clients as well. So it will be a practical guide, so lawyers understand exactly what they need to do from the moment they wake up in the morning to the moment that they come home after a long working day. And hopefully my aim is to help not just lawyers live and work in a way that brings them well-being, but that also in turn empowers them to do the same for their clients throughout the legal process.
Wow, wonderful, Amber. I wish you much luck and much joy. I think you have it. I think you have all the blessings from the gods and the universe, because, as Sri Patanjali says, you are established in truth. It doesn't mean, like you said, and I keep telling many of our viewers, that it doesn't mean that you won't get obstacles in life. You will. It's just the way you handle it. We're talking about in Raj 2, Sri Patanjali tells us pain that is yet to come is avoidable. It's just with this knowledge we can avoid pain by practicing these truths. This is why the yamas and niyamas are so vital in our life. And I think in your book, if you could mention them especially, more than anything else, non-greed, truthfulness, non-violence, then, I was telling, if you just practice one, like truthfulness, all the rest follow. And this is what the universe does all the time. All the time. If we could just focus and just hear and see, then we wouldn't be depressed at all. Even in difficult times, we see these rays of light. How did this happen on this occasion? It talks to all of us. Like I said, we keep looking for angels out there. Stop looking for angels out there. Start to look at the angel within yourself. Start to see the angels around you. Like Amber, you mentioned all your mentors. All angels. Do you see how many there are? And I want everybody today to understand one thing. Our world is getting better. It really is. Look at between 1980s, when I was called a witch for doing yoga, and people didn't even know about holistic law, and now we're talking. Look on YouTube, how many good people there, how many wonderful people spreading spirit. Our world is much better. But we have to see the dark, the real dark, before the light comes through. So this is what we're going through. And as yogis, don't give up our practice of truthfulness. And you see, our lives will just be interesting and full of adventure. And full of adventure.
I think
It is full of adventure.
just to add, just at the very end, because I know we're running out of time, but another thing about the beautiful thing I think about being so connected now is that there are, and you asked me, sorry, I didn't really answer fully the question about the holistic network. I even have a lady, a very special lady called Marie Fox, who works as an art therapist. You know, we're doing collaborations now between lawyers and artists, between lawyers and musicians with music therapy, between lawyers and acupuncturists, you know, between lawyers and yogis. It's just such a beautiful world where now we're starting to see that actually all of us have a common humanity. And in that common humanity, and in order to elevate that common humanity to a higher place, a better place where there's more light, we need to work together. And so I just end with that. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's been such a joy. And yes, humanity, work together, laugh together. That's what my master, Swami Satchidananda, always said. You know, he said, yes, use me as a guru, as a teacher, for as long as you want. But that is not the aim. The aim is to find the guru inside of you. And when you do, I will be your crutch till then. And then you drop the crutch and we can dance together, walk together, laugh together in a world full of hope. We mustn't ever lose hope. You know, recently, the last few months, because of all this COVID stuff, people have lost so much hope. And this is what we must now focus on, things that will elevate us, not bring us down. So Amber, you've inspired me. Thank you. And I think you've inspired many people. You know, thank you for coming to the talk today. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. If anybody wants to contact me, please do during these difficult times. We're all working from home. My email is amber@amberlaw.gi. The website's still a work in progress, but it's it's amberlaw.gi. But please do contact me any way I can serve. I'll be very happy to do so. So thank you once again, all of you, for listening. And thank you, Nalanie and Anna and Shanti and Les. Thank you all.